Good afternoon, everyone. The session is starting late, so I've been mandated with the task of wrapping it soon. But the topic is so interesting. I'm sure we have a very interesting panel, and everyone would enjoy talking about AI and especially AI in higher education. It's interesting and also a controversial topic, and heads of institutions here have a lot of challenges in terms of adapting it and using it for both the educators and the students, and seeing how AI is going to benefit everybody. So I will do a short introduction, or I think it will be better if each one of you also introduce yourselves. So we'll start with Professor Prabhat Ranjan. He's the Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil University.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Professor Prabhat Ranjan. As she said, I'm Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil International University because there are multiple universities in Akurdi campus of Pune. We have 5 campuses in Pune itself. I'm a nuclear fusion scientist and a futurist. That's all.
Thank you, sir. And he's also a part of India's technology think tank, which is heading it. Yeah. And then we have next Dr. Shankar Mantha.
Yeah. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. I'm SS Mantha, former chairman, All India Council for Technical Education, and currently the chancellor of a private university in Nagpur. Thank you.
And then we have Professor Simon Mark, who was recently moved to Mumbai from Texas, and he's a founding vice chancellor of the Universal AI University, the first AI-focused institution. I'll let him introduce himself.
Right. Thank you so much for being here. As the introduction says, I came from Texas about 3 months ago to be the founding vice chancellor at Universal AI here in India. We are both Indian, just outside of the States. Why? Look forward to talking more about open at Universal.
And then our last panelist is Professor Akshay Pramod. He's a faculty member and researcher with 15 years of experience and teaching at MIT. Right.
Hello. Am I audible? Yeah. So just a small correction. It is Dhume.
Dhume. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm a professor and the associate dean at the School of Liberal Education or the School of Liberal Arts at MIT-WPU University. And I have also had some experience with setting up some schools of liberal arts in India. So that's about me. And I look forward to interacting with everyone. So thanks for the opportunity.
So we'll start with the first question. And I like Dr. Mantha to answer that. What role of AI in higher education? What do you think is the role of AI in higher education?
No, AI or artificial intelligence, we seem to be, associating that with almost every aspect of life today. And a lot of people talk about its role in education, especially higher education and so on. See, first of all, like any technology, AI also has its uses, and there are also several concerns that would be there. As far as education is concerned, yes, there are many applications. For example, you have, start off with personalization of education. For example, different children learn at different pace. They have a different pace of learning, and they learn in different ways. Their learning behavior is very different, and so on. So therefore, is it possible to do a targeted, learning experience from each student's perspective? And artificial intelligence has a role to play in that. In fact, there are several tools available in order to do that. The first of all, we need to map each student in terms of their behavior, in terms of their learning abilities, and how fast they can learn or how slow they can learn, things like that. And artificial intelligence, and there are several tools available in that. Google Classroom is one, and so on. So these tools will allow you to map these students' abilities. So that's about AI. Now, taking over from there, the machine learning algorithms will actually figure out what is the gap that the student's learning profile has, and will figure out what additionally needs to be done in order that that gap is filled. And they will also figure out how fast or how slow a student learns, and will create the assessment methodologies based on the capabilities of that student. So it's a combination of certain machine learning algorithms and certain AI, which will figure out how a student must learn and what additional material the student requires. This is about personalized learning. As far as the teacher is concerned, a lot of mundane jobs are automated. There are grading requirements, there are assessment requirements. All these are done, But the most important idea of AI is actually adaptive learning. A student must adapt to the learning, the requirements of a certain coursework, and so on. So therefore, is it possible to discretize different elements of learning? And each element of learning, can I actually figure out what is the input to that? What is the outcome of that element? And can I create a closed loop around that? And therefore, break down the learning experience into different elements and treat each element separately, build a closed loop around that, and then you build the systems to make the students learn much faster and things like that. So adaptive learning is another very, very important aspect of AI. All in all, there are several ways of use of AI today in which comes in various forms in terms of applications, in terms of, for example, math learning. There is a tool called Newton, and it helps students learn mathematics very fast. In fact, the tool allows you to pick up the gaps of learning and then plugs those gaps with additional material and things like that. So this is a example of AI, but then any technology, this also has its flip side, and we need to be conscious of the flip side as well. Maybe during the discussion later, we'll come to that. Thank you.
Professor Simon had mentioned, we were talking earlier this morning, and he talked about AI agents, and that I think is an interesting aspect for that. Would you like to elaborate a little about that?
Sure. So imagine a world where when you were born, you're giving an AI agent. And this AI agent follows you throughout your academic career so that it can adapt and adjust to your learning style and also help you improve your learning in different areas. And so we call that mass customization. And so the mass customization of education from being a child all the way up to higher education, that's one of the promises of AI. What I want to talk about is imagine a future where there are no longer instructors that teach existing knowledge. AI is going to do what a lot of technologies have done in the past, which is eliminate jobs. What job is it going to eliminate in higher education? Instructors who just give knowledge, teaching the basic knowledge. AI is going to be much, much more smarter than that. And so imagine a world where in higher education, by the time they come to us, they have already learned all the basics of physics, all the basics of algebra, all the basics of calculus. Now they come to us to actually use what they've learned. And so my prediction is that in a higher education across the globe, the instructors who learn how to do experiential learning, who know how to take the knowledge that the students already have and immediately apply it, that's going to be the future of education. And at Universal AI University, we have a requirement that over 50% of curriculum has to be experiential learning. And we believe that, and we're implementing that at our institution.
So you're talking about blended learning. So the students already learn what is out there in the world,
Yes.
and have learned, and then based on what he's talked about, adaptive learning, whatever gaps are there, they can use Gen AI and learn, and then they come to university and take the professor's help in applying this learning, right? So
That's right. The professor will no longer be a traditional lecturer. The professor will be a mentor, a guide, a counselor. That means all professors who lecture today, they won't have a job. So if that's you, you need to change, because that won't be around 5 years from now.
And I think a lot of institutes have changed in Singapore and US. When you see most of the students, like PhD students, when I lived there for a few years, and she was studying in Princeton, and she had to read every day one book. That was a goal. So they already read, and then they go for the class, and the class is about discussing.
Right.
It's about already the student is already comprehending, and they can understand English, so they just are asked to read. But you had mentioned the challenges of India, where we have multiple languages. How do we address that? As use AI to translate content and impart knowledge. So I think it's going to be exciting times, and that's what keeps me motivated. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Prema Ramalingam. I'm the CEO of Six Red Marbles. We are a company for more than 25 years working in content space along with publishers and enabling content, and trying to also work now with the universities to see how content can be made more fun and engaging. And that's, we are on the sidelines at the back, but, it's really interesting to see how AI is impacting this whole industry, and it's transforming.
And it's like what we talked about at the beginning. No, the good news is no one's figured it out.
Yes.
So there are no experts in applying AI in education. And so this is a very, very good time for us to have these types of discussions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Professor Ranjan, would you like to add anything? You can just,
Yes, actually, I will broaden the AI. AI is just one such technology. There are multiple technologies coming together. I was heading India's technology think tank in Delhi from 2013 to 18, TIFAC. We prepared Technology Vision 2035 for the country. And actually, we use exactly the same sentence that you use. The role of teacher is completely changed. And teacher is no longer the sage on the stage who comes and gives sermon and everybody is picking it up, because the source of knowledge is multiple. Today, we are seeing this in classroom at my university. Students are not really interested in listening to a teacher. So what you said is actually also the concept of flipped classroom, where students actually learn things in home, come to discuss and so on. And we already started to implement this actually. Yesterday also at the Academic Council meeting, I'm chairing that. So I exactly said we need to transform our whole learning process. The typical lectures are gone. And the students are also not interested because they can pick up the same thing much faster from somewhere else. The second thing is that I also work on brain-computer interface. And I will also bring another technology, holography. So in Delhi, we had developed a document for National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems, which Government of India launched at 3,660 crores budget. I had put 25 grand challenges for the country. And one of them was multilingual holographic guru. Multilingual holographic guru. That means it's a holographic system that sits with you. It can speak in the language of your choice. It picks up what Dr. Mantha said about personalized learning and connects everything together. It's like a guru system that India had in a modern form. So you combine multiple technologies. AI is part of that. Holography is part of that. Linguistics is part of that. One more area that I work in is brain-computer interface. And I would like to take personalized learning to even a higher level, where actually we look at the brain and identify, there's one theory of multiple intelligence, Professor Howard Gardner theory, which says that every human being has 8 to 9 different kind of intelligences. And each one of us is unique in our own way. We were not robots. So every child need not be taught in the same way. I may be a great mathematician, I may be very poor in linguistics. There are many people like this who get thrown out of the school because they don't pass. There was a discussion about Einstein. So we need to identify each child's intelligences and make them learn in their way. So first, what they want to learn is also going to be different. The way they learn is also going to be different. Learning style is different. What they want to learn is also going to be different. This is also linked to something called gifted children concept. I'll not go into that. But one more thing that is happening is that artificial intelligence is artificial brain in some sense. I work on brain-computer interface. I've been piloting that in country. And now another technology coming is called brain-to-brain direct interface. That means I don't need to go through the teachers. I transfer knowledge directly to brain, either from one brain to another, or it goes to another thing, like there's a project going on, and I've talked about this in 2015. You pop a pill and you learn the language. And this was the US Defense Department's working because they needed to have soldiers going all over the world. They need to know language. Now you can't wait to 6 months or 1 year to learn language. You pop a pill and learn language. And in India, actually, there's a movie PK that you might have seen. And you see the Amir Khan comes from a Gola. He doesn't know the language. So he holds hand of a lady for 6 hours or 8 hours, and he learns the language. Bhojpuri, I think he was speaking. So direct transfer of knowledge from one brain to another, it looks like a very fancy thing. You listen to a discussion we had in Delhi in 2015 on future of brain. That time I had said that by 2018, we will start to see something like this happening. 2018, exactly something like this happened. From 10 experienced pilots' brain, knowledge was transferred to a new trainee, and he could learn things 33% faster. So that's another technology that is happening. So AI is just one part of this game. There are multiple things happening together, and each individual is going to matter. The personalized learning in a very wide variety of things. I'll just mention one more thing, because language was mentioned. In the Technology Vision 2025 document, we also have mentioned that translation from one Indian language to another Indian language should happen in real time. So we put it as one of the grand challenge. What used to happen typically was that suppose I want to translate from Marathi to Gujarati. All the research was being done to translate from Marathi to English and then English to Gujarati. We're completely wrong, because you go linguistically far and then again come back far, you lose twice. So we put up this concept, and we had a very interesting discussion on 11th February 2016 after the document was released, Prime Minister, in my office. And there was fight among people there. There was one group which was so heavily in Sanskrit's favor that there should be a meta language. So I said there should be an intermediate language, which should be Indian, into which you translate, and then you translate other ones. There was one group who said Sanskrit, other group was saying, though we don't have enough knowledge of Sanskrit. There was almost literally fight. Nothing to do with north-south divide here. It was cutting across. But fortunately, after that, I had a meeting with the Department of Official Languages. We called Microsoft, Adobe, and Google. And they actually worked on that. Today, actually, it's already happened, actually. So you don't need to go to English and so on. So language translation among Indian languages become very good. So that means that child can learn in the language of their choice. Thank you.
Hey. Professor Akshay, go. Wait.
So I'll leave the technology side to the technologists. I'm a social scientist, and I'd like to bring in the social scientist's view here. I don't think there's any question of we running away from the idea of incorporating AI in the future. I think that's going to be a part and parcel of the game. I remember a story that was told by, I had the privilege to work with one of the former executive directors of RBI. And he told us a story, this was sometime in the mid-1980s, when computers came to India for the first time and RBI decided to implement those. And there was a ruckus outside that, oh, computers are going to take up jobs and people are going to be unemployed, and a lot of protests were being held. Computers did come. It made life simple. And we are using them. And I think we still have jobs. We need to adapt. That is one aspect. My problem with AI lies at a different point, however. we are already facing a lot of issues regarding mental well-being. People are not interacting, especially the newer generations who are in their mobiles for hours and hours together. And now we are giving them one more device to work with, a platform to work with, which is going to take them away, or which may take them away from the interaction with other human beings. The other aspect, and this is something that we saw during the COVID period, which was the online training. And well, yes, it's a facility that was introduced, but that has left a lot of learning gaps. One of the speakers today did mention about this. There's a huge learning gap that has been created due to the online learning methods. And that is something that should not happen with AI. I'm not saying that will happen, but that is one thing that we really need to take a look at while we are developing the platforms. Thirdly, the accessibility.
You can go.
Sorry. The accessibility. We need to ensure that the accessibility would be equal, and those who require a certain type of access would be getting that accessibility to make AI a successful project. And I would look at it as a project. Then we come to another point, which is, and I'm kind of just spacing out a little. Okay. We've talked about human interaction. I've talked about maybe I'll come back. Yeah, maybe I'll have to come back on that. But my point is, yes, AI is important. I completely agree that its implementation in higher education needs to be done. Yet, there needs to be a proper implementation that should be done. The third point that I was going to talk about is some of the AI platforms, which, as you said, about reading a book in a day, or research papers. There are platforms which help you identify research gaps or give you a summary, but they take away the essence of that particular research, which is kind of not necessarily a good thing to happen. Are we going to go from something where people were delving deep into a particular project to learning everything at a superficial level? Is also something that one needs to really look at. So these are my concerns from a social scientist perspective, which I thought one needs to look at.
Definitely, the concerns are on AI, and how AI is going to be implemented in education is a big concern for many heads of institutions. But you brought on a point about jobs and how computers came in and there was worry about jobs. But now with AI coming in, how do you think the job market will change? What people have to be skilled on, what level of skill they need, and how learning has to be a little different. So
I remember that there used to be these facet calculators which people used to use, and you had to be trained on those essentially to ensure that the job is being done on time and efficiently. I believe the job market may not change, or rather the jobs may not go away, but people will have to change the way they do things. So it's very different than creating unemployment. It is more to do with what kind of reskilling that is required. And I think that is going to be something which will be very important.
So basically the monotonous tasks, like computers took away the need to do math, right? The calculators took away that. And then software programs took away the need to do basic math. And, the mental math skill which was there has gone away, or remembering.
That is actually a problem, in my view. It is essential that we do mental math, or we are at least trained to doing mental math, although we do not do it. One of the issues with many of the softwares that come in, that these are black boxes. So if I'm using Excel, or if I'm using SPSS or some statistical software to run a regression, I do not really know what is happening behind that entire software unless I'm taught about that. I believe AI becomes a black box within a black box, and hence it has to be used more judiciously.
So if you're an accountant, right? So the math doesn't need to bother you. What you need to do is understand where the expenses. As an accountant, you have to manage. So that piece will not go away ever.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's how that change is what I think will have to come in the education system, is about implementing a particular task rather than executing it. So
So the point that I always say, and this is something which I tell my students as well, the statistical analysis, because I'm also an econometrician, the statistical analysis that we do, the theory behind it, we need to learn that because we need to understand how those results are being generated, how those numbers are being crunched. Once you understand that, that will help you interpret the outcome that you get. The interpretation is something which is very important. And AI will help us understand that if it is implemented in a proper manner, is what I want.
so you've shown.
I just wanted to interrupt you, sorry. So in Delhi in 2017, we had organized an event on impact of exponential technologies. And that time we said exactly the same thing that you were mentioning, that AI will replace routine mundane tasks. And for creative activity, human brain would be required. Totally today's disrupted completely. Creative field has been taken over by AI. I have become a singer. I have become a storyteller, and which I had never these skills. So now what I am able to do is to combine my natural brain and artificial brain together to do things which I had never imagined in my life.
So that's Gen AI. I mean, Gen AI has transformed some of things. Basic AI before was more machine learning based, and that's where the mundane tasks were automated. Gen AI has brought in the artistic, but again, it's the interpolation that Mr. Simon would like to add to it, I'm sure.
So what I wanted to add was that the conversation has sort of gone a little bit higher level, and we're talking about how much do we trust technology. All right. And so I still don't trust an electric car, so I don't have one. But many people trust an electric car, right? And so they buy an electric car. And so I think there's going to be an adoption curve related to trust, and then also related to what exactly are you using the AI for? Like if you're using the AI to help you learn piano, I think there's nothing trustworthy or not trustworthy that's involved. On the other hand, if you're using the AI to help you analyze data regarding weather patterns that will influence farmers' investments, now you have to be a little bit more careful about how you're using the AI and whether you trust it or not. And so that'll be very interesting. We're gonna create a culture of types of AI we trust and types of AI we don't necessarily trust.
On that note, my students and I, we did one experiment. We took a random topic and we put it through different GPTs. So we went through the Chat GPT, Copilot, and so on. And we got an essay based on the parameters that we had entered. And we also asked for the references, and we got the references. We went back to check the references, and the references did not exist.
No, Gen AI writes, it starts writing on its own.
Right.
So it's...
But that's why I said the judicious use is something which is very important at the end of the day.
Yeah. When I wish you that it's a pandemic.
I don't think, can you hear me?
Yeah, I appreciate that it's a kind of black box. But then should we really know what is happening within the black box is also a question. You probably, when you use technologies, you don't end up knowing the technology and things like that. But one question that you raised on the job front, what is happening is we know that traditional employment market, which is pyramid-like structure, there are several jobs at entry level with lesser skills, and as you go up, you need a higher level of skilling and so on. What AI has done is it has completely removed the base of the pyramid. So the base of the pyramid has shrunk. So what has happened is the entry-level jobs are automated. There are intelligent agents. There is a lot of AI that has come in, a lot of automation that has come in, and therefore that has gone. So therefore, what is required today is much higher level of skills, even at the entry level. And as you go up, you need even higher level of skills. But in order to do that, probably one needs, a university cannot provide everything that is required in a industry is very diverse. So therefore, a lot of micro credentials, fractional credits over a period of time, depending on where your interests are, those kind of courses are to be built in, and the system grows in that fashion. There's just one other thing that I wanted to say based on what was coming up here, the level of AI and things like that, We seem to, the power of AI is also in devising new pedagogies of teaching, learning methodologies and so on. If we go back in time, the Shankaracharya had 4 matas, which he created, and the pedagogies which are used in those matas are still they are still using it. Our university systems have conveniently forgotten that. For example, they talk about Shravana Vidhi, listening and then learning. They also talk about Upadesha Vidhi. You teach, you give a sermon, people learn. They talk about Tarka Vidhi. There's a logic that is involved. There's an Adhyarop Apavada Vidhi, which means you create scenarios around, and from that you bring out what is to be learnt and things like that. So if you go today, what is happening is our universities, our institutions have only got Shravana Vidhi and Upadesha Vidhi. They have actually left off the remaining 8 methodologies which they still use in their matas. But one of the most important development within AI is also gaming, using gaming, and that helps in learning. For example, the human brain processes 60,000 times much faster an image than a text. So therefore, how to use images, how to get into the moving part of it, and how do you change the pedagogies of teaching, learning, and things like that. So these are some of the things that must come out in a AI discussion. Not that all of them are good. There are many gray areas which we need to also discuss at some point of time. Thanks.
I think AI itself, Gen AI is one sector. Then there is basic AI. So there is, AI has been researched for many years, I think, but with ChatGPT, we saw one implementation of it. And that is kind of opened eyes.
The large language models have brought in a lot of, ease in. Yeah, absolutely.
So
the conversion, the translation from one language to other, which Professor was
possible with Gen AI.
These are some very good applications of AI. But then, we tried translation through using the ChatGPT model. For example, translation from English to Marathi doesn't, appeal to a connoisseur. Like, the translation there's a lot left to. All our languages are context driven, and AI still has a lot to do to capture the context of a language. When we say something, we write something, we think something, we imagine something. That is something that is missing within the AI models and the machine learning models.
Also, you say that because I actually use Google Translate when I'm at my university to English to Marathi, and everybody laughs at me, but at least they understand, right? It's not exact, but it's better than nothing. So I'll settle for nothing for now. For that.
The words which are sequenced not come together.
Yes. They laugh, but then they know what I'm trying to say.
No, context is surely one, but also the emotion. And that is also something that I find it difficult for AI to capture that at this point in time.
Starting to happen. So that's why the human will always still be there. But I think it's about how we use it as a tool. It could be an teaching assistant, or it could be, helping you do the research. As an educator, you have so many challenges, so many things to keep updated about. And then, the challenge is about how do you keep the students engaged? So that's the role I think AI could help.
I think it also depends on what level we are using AI. As Sir pointed out, the lower level, because again, we need to, I'm only talking about education, and maybe the jobs at lower level are going away or may go away in case of manufacturing. But when we are looking at education, actually the lower level is the entry level. That is where the most handholding is required. As we move up the ladder, if the foundation is strong, a lot of the additional learning happens with mentoring rather than teaching. And I think whenever we are looking at designing AI, we need to understand that the foundation needs to be made strong even by including AI. So that's something that needs to.
So again, that I think in higher education, luckily that we are hoping this school education is going to take care of the basis. And then when they come to colleges, they have good reading, comprehension, social skills, mental well-being, all that needs to be formed by 18. And after that, when they are in college, how do you use AI? I think, in a lot of operation tasks, which are there, a teacher not only teaches to correct, teaches to assess. And, AI could be used in those areas to help, enable the teacher to actually do the mentoring and teaching rather than do a lot of the other tasks. Professor Ranjan, you want?
So I was going to add two more points. One coming from his side. So one of the issues that has been there, it's not only AI, the whole digital system is affecting family systems learning. So my grandson, he lives in US with my daughter and son-in-law. He was there with me yesterday till I will also be joining him. What they've done is that they limit his digital time. And the boy has learned from childhood that there's a limit to what he can do. There are certain times. And he loves to read books. I've given him a set of 73 books just now. And the other thing that is important in this was that the parents decided, the boy decided that he should learn Indian classic literature, Mahabharata, other things. So I've gifted a set of 73 for Amar Chitragatha. And the day I gave him, immediately he started learning. So actually, it's also how we groom our child, What happens is that the parents leave the child, okay, he's busy with TV, let him be busy.
Yeah.
So we need to groom them. I know I was in IT Kharagpur, I used to, every evening after dinner, I used to sit in library till 12 o'clock. Berkeley, I was there. Every weekend, I'll be sitting there. Today, I have stopped going there. The other point I wanted to mention was the fact that in my university, for example, in fact, I've been using AI for the last 25 years or more. First as a researcher and more recently in the university system. 2019, we started a computer science program. AI was a very important part of that. We completely transformed that. He was AICT chairman earlier. AICT actually liked that very much. They adopted that. I was part of the committee. In 2020, next year, there were 7 new programs started by what we had done. So in my university, every program is AI is built in, which is the mechanical, civil, chemical, everything is built into this. But then along with that, we also brought in other technologies like digital fabrication technologies. So we are combining AI with other aspects of this. I'm also chairman of AICT committee of Idea Lab, which sets up these digital fabrication facilities across the country of 3D printing, other things. So AI should not be seen in isolation. I would also like to say that last point is that the job loss actually is job shift also. You move and then our age has gone that you get a degree and 40 years you'll be doing the same kind of job. No, that's gone. You need to learn new things. You need to shift your learning. You need to move to new types of way of working also. The way we were working 10 years back, today it has changed completely. So a lot of exciting times ahead.
Yeah, and I think this topic can go on for hours, but we have limit on time. So I'm sorry, audience, if you have any questions, I think the panelists will be part of the audience. We can reach out. So since we started late, we are running. I've been asked to conclude the session. Thank you. Sorry about that. One question? Okay, one question, fine.
Just go ahead and ask. Yeah.
Ask, we can hear.
You can hear, please go ahead.
Is it very good?
What does it mean there?
Check.
Dr.
Associated
favorite and other training. But my question is to board of studies people, for example, how can a university design examination? Thank you, guys. And if you are expecting to run the like AI software, say AI language or Python and all, so how we have to align? We can align all these things specifically in syllabus.
Right.
Yes, Chairman is
Yeah, first of all, the curriculum design is also an art. Having said that, there are certain building blocks for an education in a curriculum, and those building blocks must be there. When you go to the nuts and bolts of curriculum, you need to really look at the prerequisites. You need to look at the core part of the curriculum, and you leave about 20% to your electives and your, value-added courses and things like that. Today, what is happening is in the need to push AI and the related technologies, almost every single coursework is somehow pushed into, the AI background. I'll give you a small example. When we were reviewing curriculum of a certain university, they started off teaching Python in the first semester. This is 12th class. He has passed. He's come to engineering. First semester, he is learning Python. Now, the trouble with that is you can learn any language. I mean, there is nothing, but you kill the spirit of the learning of a certain language. What is Python used for? You need linear algebra. You need statistics. You need probability. You don't do that. You don't even introduce that in the mathematics, so-called mathematics part of the curriculum, but you straight away introduce Python. So these are some of the gaps that are there. Otherwise, ideally, curriculum maps must be created. There is a methodology for creating a curriculum map. You design the inputs that are there. You design the outcomes of a certain coursework. How do you write the course outcomes? How do you write the program outcomes in a accreditation space? You all keep writing that, but there is no basis on how you create those course outcomes and so on. Whatever that is, you need to create the prerequisites that are required for the course, the core program that is required, and also the value addition that can happen.
So for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, the prerequisites will change.
Yes,
and based
absolutely, absolutely. So the whole concentration on bringing in something of AI and something of computer science into the curriculum is not the right way to go.
I will just answer. Actually, the whole concept that one university sitting and deciding for 500 students is not part of NEP. It's supposed to go away. So Mumbai University deciding every 500, 600 or Pune University deciding is what is being talked about and to be removed from there. So that every institution has its local context in mind. That's...
Ma'am, you have a question.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Professor Dr. Zarina Sultana from ISL Engineering College, Hyderabad. My question is, although very simple, at the same time quite alarming also. As Sir said, Sir, this question is for you, because I can see, the regional languages and the mother tongue, the books written in mother tongue or the regional languages, there are no takers, no buyers of the books. Nobody is buying the books or reading the books. It's quite alarming. Like I myself, I don't know how to read Urdu or write in Urdu. But over a period of time, we see that even students don't read newspapers, whether it is Telugu, Hindi, Urdu, Marathi, and so on. But it's only inclined towards English, 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 right? So how can you bring about change? The change, the reading. That is my question to you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're right. So in Technology Vision 2035, we have discussed this, and it is very well recognized that child's early education of the child should be in the language of their comfort. Today, I'm not calling it mother tongue because today, mother tongue, father tongue, and what you are speaking in home is all different. So I'm just saying whatever the language the child is comfortable is the best way. I learned in Hindi. Actually, to do this possible in the Technology Vision 25, we said that at the touch of a button, the students should get the text in the language of their choice. And that's how this whole thing started with. And today it's almost becoming possible. So days are not far ahead. You don't require a textbook separately written in Marathi or Gujarati or whatever, whichever language you want. That's where this concept of meta language we brought in, where translation among Indian languages becomes so simple that every child has material of their choice in their language.
I think, sorry, I'm sure there are more people in the audience who have questions, and there's more questions that I wanted to cover, but we have run out of time. Thank you, panelists, for joining in and having an engaging conversation. Appreciate your time. Thank you.